This video is brought to you by my supporters on Patreon. Hi guys, I'm here with a video showing you how I created the dress for my Jingle Tracer cosplay. To create the pattern for this dress, I traced around an old dress that I had to get the basic shapes and then went from there. These patterns are available on my store Envy though if you just want to skip to the cutting and sewing, which is what I'm doing here. So here I'm cutting out the sleeve part of the dress in dark green, like the top half, and then moving on to the rest of the dress in the light green. And right there I had just cut out the front part of the dress since that's fully light green, and then I cut this pattern up into pieces because that has to be for the back of the dress, which is color blocked in light green and dark green. And here is the side piece, which I'd originally messed up on because I cut out or forgot to cut out the area that's going to be dark green, so I have to go back and cut that out in a second here. You'll see that, though it's no big deal. It's just a little bit of wasted fabric, not too much luckily. So anyways, in all of these clips I'm just cutting out all of the fabric in the correct colors that they need to be before I move on to sewing. After I've cut out all of the pieces for the top part of the dress, I go ahead and cut out the pieces for the skirt, which look like these giant leaves. So when I start out sewing, I need to get all of the pieces together so that they create the various panels that become the shirt and the sleeves. So what I did first is attach all of the dark green pieces to the light green pieces, like the ones that are supposed to attach each other, so that they would create the panel for the front of the shirt, which is pure green, so that one I didn't really have to worry about. But then they would create the panels for the sides, which were 4 total, and then the panels for the back, which were 2 total. And once I had those panels sewn together, I pinned those all together so that I'd create a full shirt, or an almost full shirt. It doesn't have the sleeves and it's not sewn closed, but it would create the full shirt. And then I start sewing those panels together. But here I'm working on the sleeves, which is just, another panel technically, or sort of. And I'm just sewing the light green section to the dark green section so that I have a full sleeve that I'll be able to sew closed soon. This is when I start sewing all of the shirt panels together, and then once that's all sewn together and I've sewn it at the shoulder part as well, I then attach the sleeves and sew that onto the shirt. I guess it's not technically a shirt because it is part of the dress, it's just the top part of the dress. I don't work on the skirt until much later. So to put the zipper in, I had sewn the back closed, and then I'm just going through and lining up the zipper part, like the actual zipper part of the zipper, like the teeth. I'm not sure what they're exactly called. I think it's the teeth. Anyways, I'm lining that part up with the seam and then pinning it into place because this is supposed to make it easier to sew on zippers, since it's not really my strong suit, and my zippers usually look a bit sloppy. I don't really like zippers all that much. Anyways, I'm pinning that in place and then using a zipper foot and sewing that down. Once the zipper is sewn down, I flip it so that the right side is facing out and then open that original seam where we had sewn the back part closed with a seam ripper so that, you know, you could reach the zipper and unzip the back of this dress. Here's where I start working on the skirt. So before I sewn any of the skirt panels together, I attached gold bias tape around all of the edges of the bottom two sides of this leaf shape, because that's easier to do before you sew everything together. Once the gold is sewn on, I pin all of the skirt pieces together and sew that down. Obviously they don't attach all the way down to the very bottom point because they are like little leaf shapes and they're supposed to flare off. So I kind of just eyeball to where I want the stitching to stop. I sew those closed fully so that they make a circle and then attach that to the top part of the dress. Make sure to finish all of the raw edges by folding them over and creating a hem like on the sleeves and neckline. Here I'm creating the little collar for the neckline, which is these 4 little white triangles that come off of her neck, and I'm first attaching the gold bias tape before sewing those onto the collar. Once the dress is all together, I had created this stencil for the snowflake design on her arm, and I'm just creating a rough outline by using white fabric paint and dabbing that onto the costume so that I don't smear it or smudge the stencil, and then I pull it off and finish that up because I had to add so many layers. I finished that up by just following that outline that I had made using the stencil and the dabbing of the paint with a very, very tiny brush and carefully painting on the design over and over and over again. It's like coloring in the lines. White is just so difficult to make show up, at least the white that I had used for this. But after so many layers, I had eventually got there, and yeah, I only had to do this twice, luckily. To finish up the dress, I hand sewed on these bells to each of the little points of the bottom of her dress, and that was it. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys found this helpful. Again, these patterns are online, not just for this piece, but for most of this costume, if not all of it. I hope you guys found this helpful. I think I already said that, but yeah. Bye. Have a lovely day.